This is Straight Talk with Atlanta native Greg Penn, the Preacher Man, and his sidekick Shannon Jones. Frank discussions of issues affecting the ATL, Fulton County, the state of Georgia, the nation, and around the world. And now, here they are, live and in living color, the team of Jones and Fan, the Preacher Man.
Well, welcome tonight to Straight Talk with yours truly, Greg Fan, the Preacher Man, as we go around the world with news and information. We don't have Ron and Shannon with us tonight because we had some technical difficulties in putting the program together. But to bring the program to you, as we do each and every week, we have a condensed version of what we're going to be presenting tonight. And in this version, we're going to have Miss C giving news and information and a special presentation from Mrs. Yolanda Pearson, who's the president of the Atlanta chapter of the Asa Philip Randolph Institute, better known as APRI. She's going to be talking about certain things that's going to be happening, something coming up on the 11th, how you can participate, how you can be involved, and how it's going to help our young people. But I want to just let you know that next week, Shannon, I, and Minister Bishop Tate and others will be here. British Take Our Producer will be here. We'll be here to talk about the war in Israel, and that Israel is fighting the war along with the United States against Iran. And to talk about your feelings and your sentiments about whether or not we should be in this war and what's going on with this war and how it's affecting American people and the people around the world. We'll be back next week with that program. But tonight, don't you go nowhere after Miss C is coming now with news and information. And after Miss C, Yolanda Pearson from APRI, and I'll be back after Miss Pearson. Miss C, Miss C.
Hi, Miss C here with your 3-minute news blast, or more or less. The Georgia East Ecclesiastical Jurisdiction invites you to their 5th Sunday Fellowship Service, March 29th, 2:30 p.m. at Center of Hope United Church of God in Christ, 60 North Broad Street in Porterdale, Georgia. Elder Johnny Bolton is pastor. The guest speaker is Bishop Ronnie Richardson. Liberty Helping Hands Outreach at 654 Main Street in Forest Park welcomes you to their food pantry every first and third Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Flipper Temple AME Church and Big Bethel AME will host an Alzheimer's workshop on understanding Alzheimer's Saturday, March 28, 2026 from 10 to 12 at Big Bethel AME, 220 Auburn Avenue in Atlanta. You have the opportunity to ask questions, get information on prevention, diagnosis, and care resources. To register, call 678-841-4016. Let me say that again, 678-841-4016. Or you can visit them online at understandingalzforum.eventbrite.com. That's understandingalzforum.eventbrite.com. And listen, I'd like for you to subscribe to us. I'd like for you to like us, and those little buttons are right there on the front. And I'd like for you to leave comments and share us. Don't keep Straight Talk News to yourself. Let everybody know about Straight Talk News, okay? Because we are here to stay. And listen, I found something today that I want to share with you. I thought it was so beautiful. Nothing is more powerful than prayer. Nothing is stronger than faith. And nothing is greater than God. When I read that, I said, oh my goodness, that is so beautiful. And I just had to share it with you. Okay? And I'll see you next time. Bye now.
Hi, Greg Fan here with Straight Talk with Yolanda Pearson, the president of APRI, the Atlanta chapter. And of course, she's going to tell you about APRI and about Mr. Asa Philip Randolph, who started the Pullman Porter Union. Hey, Yolanda, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Greg. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. Tell us about APRI and how you got involved.
APRI here in Metro Atlanta chapter was restarted or rebegan about 3 years ago. I was approached by Mr. Walter D. Andrews asking me if I would be interested in reorganizing Asa Philip Randolph Institute. As Greg stated, he is the founder of the Porters Union, Sleeping Porters Union, who was an organization that handled the trains as individuals entered that particular train station. They helped with the luggage, with the feeding of the passengers. So we are here in Atlanta, and what we do is a lot of voter registration work. We do a lot of community work and a lot of activist work for our community here in the Metro Atlanta area.
Now tell us a little bit about the scholarship program that you guys are getting ready to introduce. Well, this will be your second year doing this, helping young people to further their education. But I want, before we do that, before we go into that scholarship program, I think that one thing that people need to understand is that he was the one who actually really started the March on Washington, the Poor People's March on Washington. He was, and Dr. King became one of the keynote speakers. So when you see about I Have a Dream, I Have a Dream speech, Mr. Asa Philip Randolph was really the organizer for that whole march.
Correct. He worked with Bayard Rustin in organizing the March on Washington, and he felt like it was his time to pass the torch, so to speak, and invited, as we know, Martin Luther King Jr. To that particular march and asked him to do the speech where he gave the famous I Have a Dream speech that we all are familiar with. So he was one of the organizers of the march, and is not to say that we would not have heard the I Have a Dream speech, but we were honored to have that speech given to us during that time period.
Right, on a national scene,
Correct.
You know, one thing I think that people need to understand when you talk to Pullman Porter, that job was a job that a lot of men had to leave their families and get on the road to, you know, to be the ones who took, like you said, took in the luggage, who prepared the meals, who served the meals, and also in certain cars even made up the bed. They did a bunch of jobs on those trains. The doctor and Mr. Randolph was the one who organized them in terms of a union to get them the kind of wages that they deserved. And so we attribute him to all of those great things that help in organizing workers. And they were predominantly black men. Leaving their families, but making sure that their families had what they needed to be able to provide for themselves. So let's talk about this scholarship program. How did you come up with that? And, you know, your team. You want to talk a little bit about your team and the work that you're doing and how people can come and participate and send some money to their about.
Send some money. Okay, last year we discussed my fundraiser chair, Weta Collins, as well as our executive board, on how we could give back to our students. And it was decided that we wanted to do a Asa Philip Randolph scholarship. So last year we were fortunate to have our first annual, and this year we are continuing that particular scholarship on April the 11th here in Atlanta at the IBEW building at 501 Pullman Road here in Atlanta. We are giving information out to all the area schools, to the principals, to the counselors, to the senior advisors, asking those senior students to write an essay, 750 words to 1,000, on Asa Philip Randolph by March 31st. And those essays will be read by our committee and determined as to whom we would be providing the scholarships to. We are trying to provide to all students that took the time out to write an essay some form of a scholarship. However, as Greg stated, we need donations, we need sponsorships, we need people to come in and buy seats at that particular awards banquet on April the 11th.
Now, one of the things that I think that is very important is it's going to be at the IBW building at 501 William Street. But how do they get in touch with you, and how do they send donations in to help out? How do they get their tickets? How do they participate? Now, I'm going to be there too, y'all. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. I'm not going to miss it for nothing in the world, because I am labor. Labor today, labor tomorrow, and labor forever. So tell us how can they contribute? How do they get with you or Queen or whomever to either to buy tickets or to just make a donation? How can they do that?
We have a packet going out, but because it's so close to that time period, you can contact me on my cell phone at 678-822-2993. Again, 678-822-2993. Or email me at apriatlchapter@yahoo.com. And by sending that information to me, I'll jump right on it and give you a contact call back to let you know exactly what you need to do. We are taking payments at the door. We are taking donations at the door, sponsorships at the door. However, to make certain that you have a seat once you get to that door, it would be advisable for you to go ahead and either call me by cell phone or send me an email.
Well, I want to say this to you. Call her first. Don't try to get way to come at the door. Those at the door tickets, you may not get there. You may be dressed up and you won't get in. So make sure you get in touch with her. I'm going to give you that information again. You'll see it on the stream. You'll see how to get in touch with her, how to email, and how to get more information. Now, a lot of preachers are going to be watching this. I want to say, pastors, share with your members, because we are where we are today because of Asa Philip Randolph and the work that he did to help us to get to this point. One last point that I want to leave with you. This is a story that I tell you. It happens the other day when we gave them our history, but we gave up our history. They took our history, but we gave them our heritage. This is our heritage. This is our heritage. We must go back to our heritage, how we got to where we are. And that's the only way we're going to make it. I saw a squirrel the other day. My wife and I was in the car, headed to church. And the squirrel ran in front of the cars that were coming down the street. Now, normally, what squirrels will do, they'll spin around in the street, and then they'll mess around and you done ran over one. But this particular squirrel did something very unique and different. When he saw the car coming, this is what he did. He looked on the other side of the street. He looked where he came from, and guess what he did? He did not spin. He went back from whence he came. We must go back and reclaim our heritage. We must not leave our heritage, because guess what? Because now we're spinning around the street because we left our heritage. Hey, boom. This ain't nothing but straight talk with yours truly, Greg Fan, the preacher man, and Yolanda Pearson, the president of the Atlanta chapter of A. Philip Randolph Institute. Make those donations.
Well, thank you, Yolanda, and we're wishing this event is the best and the biggest one ever for A. Philip Randolph Institute. Boy, because we want to educate our young people, want our young people to know what's going on, teach them how to be organizers, and how to work to bring about a change in our society today. And as we talked in the interview, and I was sharing that about our history and our heritage. Yes, they took our history. But we gave them our heritage. Those things that we were taught to fear God, to love one another, to do unto others as we'd have them to do unto us. Respect, having respect for our elders in our village, having respect for one another. We gave that up. They did not take that. We gave that up. So we must reclaim the beloved community as it was, as we knew it, because we must go back, because right now we're just spinning around in circles and we're getting nowhere fast. I'm talking about the black church, the black people. Our issues are still the same issues as it was on yesterday, today, with the SAVE Act that they're voting on
to take us back in terms of voting, when voting is actually for us an act, not a right. It's just like driver's license. It's not a right, it's a privilege. So we've been given a privilege to vote, but now they're trying to take that privilege away from us. So they're putting up every kind of barrier they can to keep us from voting. But if voting wasn't so important, why would they be taking and going through all these extremes they're going through to keep us from voting? Everyone who votes pretty much votes for the candidate that they choose, that they believe that's going to best represent them. Many times the one we vote for do not represent us, do not represent our interests, but we still yet vote. And we're asking you today that you start getting your house in order and figure out what it's going to take to be able to vote if they pass the SAVE Act. You heard us talking about it last week, and we're coming back to talk more about it if it's passed, and talk about things or ways we feel that we can still do and vote. Because I went to a birthday party of one of my friends' mother who's 95 years old. She doesn't have a birth certificate, but she regularly votes. She doesn't have a passport, but she regularly votes. Her birth certificate is in the Bible. Is the Bible actually really going to be used as being official? Probably not. Even though Donald Trump held it up and held it up upside down. But listen, enough of that. But we're going to be talking next week about the war in Israel and how we can deal with that. We're going to be talking about voting. We're going to keep you informed because you need to be in the know. You need to be in the know. So until next week, this ain't been nothing but Straight Talk with your truly great fan, the Preacher Man. And we'll see you right back here next week on Straight Talk with yours truly great fan, the Preacher Man, Shannon E. Jones, Miss C. Ronald Allen, and our producer, Roland Tate, will be with us as we talk about what's going on between Iran, America, and Israel. You keep strong. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to make comments. Don't forget to share. And if you have comments and things that you want to have on the program, send it to Miss C on Straight Talk News at Straight Talk News 1362 at gmail.com. Straight Talk News 1362 at gmail.com. And hey, like our channel. Get our numbers up. Subscribe to us. Because as you subscribe, we'll have more and more people that you get information, that sharing the information about what's really, really going on. God bless. Keep strong.
Want to be a guest on Straight Talk? Email Greg Fan at fann922@comcast.net or call 404-308-0795. Join us again for another episode of Straight Talk with Shannon Jones and Greg Fan, the Preacher Man.